that are part of the overall new energy paradigm, and do this on a large scale. So 3-year period, what does this mean? This means we've redesigned our portfolio of activities. We've simplified it. We'll be simplifying it further, redefining it using 2 areas of leverage. First of all, capital expenditure. You'll see this substantially, carefully focused CapEx, as well as divestments, major divestments. We're going to redesign our portfolio. Gérard alluded to it briefly a moment ago. Our scope of activities with 3 main areas. First, direction, low or no CO2 emitting activities. 82%, 90% of our EBITDA, lower left of the screen, will focus on activities that emit no or little CO2 within 3 years, 2018. Second change, upstream. We're developing decentralized solutions on our clients' premises. I said this. We do this on a large scale already. We'll boost that, step it up further. We'll be increasing this by 50%, 50, by 2018. Third area, to go beyond commodities prices. Energy prices fluctuate wildly. We've seen this. It's very complicated to coordinate group performance when the #1 parameter in impacting that performance is an external one that we have no control over. So we want to reduce our exposure to commodities prices. We don't want to have to coordinate performance in that way. The second reason, with an eye to abundant energy, we know energy prices have gone down. In the very long term, the outlook in terms of energy prices will probably be trending down. So we've decided to reduce exposure to commodity prices. We are working toward regulated and contract-based business. That'll make up over 85% of our EBITDA in 2018. Those are the 3 main areas, 3 types of activities that we're going to be focusing on. I'd now like to look at this from a more industrial point of view. We'll be focusing our capital expenditure, first of all, in generating low-carbon electricity, low-carbon emitting. We're also already a major player in renewables. That might not what you know most about us, but it's a very important feature of ours, and we'll speed this up further. It's clearest in solar, with last year's acquisition of Solar Direct, a specialist player in developing solar-based energy generation. That's helped us really step up this development. Last year, we set up 1 million solar panels. A solar panel is 200 watts, but 1 million of them, 1 million. That's 2,500 a day. In 2016, we'll double that pace. We'll be focusing on that development. On the other hand, Gérard said this earlier, we've decided to stop all coal-fired projects. We are streamlining, we're reducing the current facilities for coal-fired production and gas-fired production. That's the first area. Second area, major infrastructures. The area, the world of energy presupposes major investment in infrastructure, and this will have to be more flowing than in the past, because production profiles for renewable energy, as we saw earlier, are fairly irregular. So we have to have many different sites and grids that interconnect even better than currently, which requires substantial capital expenditure. We'll continue doing this in gas infrastructure and also electricity infrastructure. Currently, for instance, we are building an electricity transmission line in Chile to link the north and the center of Chile. Major infrastructure. On the other hand, we will be lightening in the area of gas and oil production that's highly exposed to energy price fluctuations necessarily. A third area we'll be investing in. These are client solutions, upstream, downstream, sorry. And these are less capital intensive. It's about people. It's less about capital. We'll be investing in this area to further build up our know-how. We acquired several businesses last year, for instance, medium-sized ones in the U.S., where there are many companies that are way ahead of the loop in technology, and particularly when it comes to data management, being able to repatriate data from an industrial site, and then link that data up and establish the decentralized systems I talked about earlier. So those are the three industrial areas where we're going to be investing. Remember that Engie in the future will be large-scale production of electricity that emits little or no CO2, major infrastructures plus client solutions. First clear line is strategic consistency, and we are going to adhere to this strategic consistency. Second clear line is to invest in the future. We are convinced only a very small part of the solutions that will be part of the new energy world currently exist in a mature state. Many of them are yet to be achieved. So we've got to have this part of our ecosystem that has to be teeming with ideas and new technologies. Specifically, we'll be, over the next 3 years, investing 1.5 billion in emerging technology, digital. We won't be doing this alone. We'll be doing this in partnerships with major players or sometimes smaller players. I mentioned solar, hydrogen. These are areas where we're going to be earmarking some of our resources. In digital, I just mentioned group platforms that we'll be establishing. 2 examples, a platform to gather all the data that transits through Engie or that's created by Engie. We'll also be setting up our software manufacturing plant. We're convinced in the future software will be at the very core of our business. So 1.5 billion capital expenditure. It will reap the benefits of this in the longer term. We're talking about timelines of 5 to 10 years, depending on project. Another way of putting it is that we don't have expectations of large-scale contributions of these in the 3-year plan. We've just intentionally accepted to make these investments in spite of it all because these will be crucial for our future. A third simple line, here I'm talking about clearly emphasizing performance. The world is ever more competitive. Things are changing faster and faster. More and more decentralization, barriers to entry are lower. We're seeing the arrival of many new players. So it's of paramount importance for us to be ever more competitive. Over the next 3 years, we've already begun. Judith talked about this earlier. We're launching a new performance plan. In the last 3 years, we already rolled out a major performance plan. We've now begun a new one, Lean 2018, 1 billion euros in recurring gains is what this will entail. It's a very demanding plan. It's a highly ambitious one. It's meaning we're having to further and more finely segment our industrial chain, our various processes, so we can more carefully gauge, compare, and measure performance. We also have to step up the pace of our ongoing improvement process. So far, I've been talking about industry, the areas of consistency. I've talked to you about capital expenditure, developing technology, improving performance. Now I'd like to talk to you about the men and women that work at Engie. Our group is first and foremost all about people, a community of people. And we can tell very well in this world that's ever-changing very quickly, the community of people has to also be able to adapt the way it does things, change the way it does things. We've begun a transformation plan for the group, which impacts our very organization. Gérard alluded to this earlier. Our organization is just here to facilitate things, and this has an impact on how we do things, how we behave, how we organize ourselves every day. The human community has to be even more agile, as connected as possible. We're not going to reinvent things that have been done. So we have to be designing and inventing and reinventing things together with clients. So we've got to be a connected community with our ear to the ground who can be proactive and see things coming. We've also got to be able to learn, build on, use experience in industry and in technology. The community has to also be even more focused than today on developing talent. Talents which we already have in the group and whose jobs are going to be changing. Talented people whom we hope to also bring into the group. It strikes me to see, and here I'm not talking about Engie specifically, but today young people, to a lesser degree, are less interested in major corporations than 20 years ago. The young newcomers to the job market are sometimes more attracted to smaller companies today, where they'd like to build something, they'd like to be able to act quickly, make quick decisions. Well, there you go. A beautiful objective of ours will be to make Engie the preferred employer for these young, talented people. I'm convinced our success, to a large degree, will hinge on our ability to do that. This is the transformation plan. I've just outlined it briefly. Lastly, I'd like to say to you, it is an ambitious one. It's about transformation before becoming a growth plan. This transformation comes before the growth plan, but it's going to be creating value nonetheless. Let me explain to you why, briefly. 3 areas for leveraging value creation. Firstly, to create value, we're talking about focusing on activities that are better valued, whose risk profile is better than the current situation. That's going to arise from our ability to redesign our portfolio of business activities. Second leverage for value creation. By the end of the period 2018, Engie must once again have potential for greater growth through new technology and new solutions that we will be developing. You know, the value of a group is first and foremost its ability to grow. Second leverage for value creation, third one, will be our intrinsic profitability of business assets, less capital intensiveness, and through a performance plan, we'll be growing unit profitability to some degree. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before wrapping up, let me just summarize saying that we're in a deep industrial revolution. We've begun this major change after realizing the huge changes underfoot, demonstrated through the COP21, but which began well before. This has led to an overall raised awareness, changes in technology. We know the world of energy is really changing shape. We are full of hope for our society, for us, for major energy corporations, and especially for Engie, which is going to this stage of transformation with all the requisite assets. It's not going to be an easy road. It's a road that's going to require courage, strategic consistency, steadfastness. We're going to have to also be very stringent and strict in the way we roll out this transformation plan. We have all of the trump cards to do this. Engie employees have a tremendous amount of skills, motivation, knowledge. I've seen this nowhere else outside of this group. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to rise to the challenge together with all the teams. With your support, your loyalty, we will manage to do this. Thank you very much.